Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now let's start with the first story. It's called "The Customer is Always Right." I worked for an alarm system installer for almost 2 years. By the second year, I was a team lead for a small sales area. One day, one of my techs called frustrated and tells me that the homeowner was drunk and insisted on putting the glass break detector in the hallway of the mobile home. That's where the salesperson said it would go. I go over to this mobile home and quickly realize this person isn't going to be swayed. I smile and say, "I understand completely. The customer is always right." I then turn and give the tech a ring and say, "Go ahead and install it where he wants." The work is done and the customer signs the document that says the work has been done to his specifications. Now, a glass break detector basically does what it sounds like. You mount it on the ceiling above a window, and if the window breaks, the detector hears the sound and sends a signal to the panel. This happens whether you arm the panel for stay or array, because windows can still be broken while you are at home. This is tuned for the frequency of broken glass, but it will trigger for any sufficiently loud noise. We do the test with either a glass break sound app on the phone or a power drill. This just happened to be mounted above his granddaughter's door. She apparently slammed the door a lot. A week later, I come to the house on a service call, since the alarm has gone off multiple times. The man is no longer drunk, and after explaining the situation, he is actually very apologetic and says he regrets having us see him drunk. We moved the glass break to a better location and never had a problem with the system for the rest of the time I was there. The next story is called "He Wanted to Know." I used to work for a manager who had never managed before, or he had never managed anything important. I'm not sure which. He could not cover for me as he didn't know my job, and my crew could handle things when it was slow, but we were generally short of manpower. One day, I needed the day off for medical purposes. I filed my paperwork in advance and the day off was approved. When I reminded him about it the day before my leave, he wasn't happy. "Are you sure you can't come in? I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow and I filed my paperwork telling you I'm off." I stopped there because it's none of his business and it's actually illegal for the employer to dig into an employee's medical reasons. But it isn't really going to take all day, is it? Again? This is illegal and it's setting me off. I need the whole day. When is your appointment? Can you come in after? Seriously? Fine. I'll tell you things you have no business knowing. Enjoy. Well, I guess. My colonoscopy is scheduled for 8 AM and I think that takes about half an hour, but I don't know how long the sedative takes to wear off. I can't drive tomorrow, but maybe my mom can drop me off and picks me back up again later. I'll be high as a kite, but I can probably get something done. No way can I get any work done to anyone's standards after coming out of twilight sedation, but whatever. The look on his face would have done a carp proud. There's a reason I didn't want to tell you, dimwit. But if you want the nitty gritty, I can go into detail. I'm pretty sure he never asked anyone anywhere about their health ever again. The third story is called HR Test. I work for a small company and we have a one-man HR department. We often get all sorts of memos detailing policies that sound good on paper but never make practical sense. Recently, HR implemented new standardized testing for screening new candidates. It scores candidates on their skills in mathematics, language, logic and a bunch of industry-specific questions. The idea is to weed out those who present well on paper and in person, but in fact can't do the most basic stuff. This could be an excellent idea to weed out the morons that keep walking through the door. But HR thought it's an excellent idea to make everyone, including those who already had been there for years, do it as well, for the employee file of course. HR gave metrics for where scores should range for new candidates, sent us links to complete the tests and requested that they are completed by Friday. As we all know, HR never does things just for employee files. We suspect HR is trying to get rid of a few crucial people who are not great with computers, not fast on the calculator, but are in fact the beating swords to the workplace. Everyone at the office pretty much boycotted the test. When HR pressured the CEO to threaten our bonuses, we begrudgingly complied. HR wants to score us based on arbitrary standardized tests as benchmark? We spent the next 3 days after hours working on the test together, one test at a time. In the end, we all scored 9 out of 10 in every category because we got some pretty bright people helping out. And guess what? We forced HR to do the same test, and HR scored 5 out of 10 for math and 4 out of 10 for logic. Guess who should be on the shopping block? The next story is called Business Expenses. This is from a job a few years ago that involved a lot of international travel. My region was EU and APAC, and I was somewhere new every 2 to 3 weeks. The company had grown fast, and the rules were be sensible. But they looked after us road warriors because we were selling, so business class at 4 hours plus and decent hotels and meals were the norm. No one asked too many questions if your numbers were good and your bosses were smart enough to see anyone being a jerk on their expenses. And they'd come down on you if they thought that. It was a good system with checks that worked with minimal oversight and admin. However, we also paid for the stuff up front. A couple of business class tickets, hotels, transfers could easily be 10 to 20k a month on the personal credit card. Delaying payment on that meant fees. Miles were a great bonus though. We get bored and the new finance Nimrod decides he's going to check everyone's expenses. Fine, I don't overspend or take liberties, so I'm set off from my whole month comes back as unpaid. This is like a 2 weeks process and I need to clear my credit card to get to the next round of travel, which means either I front the company or I don't go. I ask what is wrong and have several convos with people insinuating I'm living life on the large, which sets me off even more. Eventually, my boss figures out they have seen a receipt for a limo from the airport and they are not paying it. I'm racking my brains trying to figure this out, because taking a limo isn't something I'd do unless all other modes of transport are not there. I go back through my receipts and notice my bus ticket from Narita to Tokyo is the limousine bus. These idiots. It gets paid. But now all this has apparently created a hoo-ha internally of which I was unaware, about who gets to ride in airport limos and who doesn't. The decision is made that if you're important enough for a biz class ticket, you should get a limo if you want one too. Cue hordes of salespeople lining up limos when previously they had taken trains, cabs or buses. The policy lasted about a month before sanity prevailed and the old system was reinstated. Never had another query about my expenses. The last story is called Reverse Compliance. I had just recently graduated from university and was about to purchase my first new car. This would be in the 90s. The era of haggling down the price of a new car had recently ended, but I decided to try my luck anyway. We had picked the make and model of car that we wanted, highly influenced by a $5,000 rebate that recent university graduates were eligible for. I decided to try to haggle down the price. The dealer wouldn't budge, saying that it was handed down from the gods themselves that they could not sell a car for anything other than their MSRP, no more and no less. I took this as a challenge. Represented with the paperwork, I went over it with a fine-tooth comb. Eventually, I spotted it. There was a charge of $150 for pinstriping. The dealer explained that this was a paint stripe down the side of the car. Determined to get a deal, I pounced. I argued that I had never asked for pinstriping to be applied, so I should not be charged for it. The dealer stated that I was being charged for it because this was the last car of this model with the options I wanted on the lot. The pinstriping had been applied already by the manufacturer. I went full Karen mode, accusing them of adding on this charge to try and get extra money from me, adding on a feature that I hadn't asked for to make me out of my hard-earned money. We went back and forth, until finally I got the dealer to remove the pinstriping charge. Happy with my victory, the dealer showed me the car, which indeed had a thin green stripe down the side and said that it would be ready to be picked up tomorrow. I arrived the next day, ready to pick up my new car. They drove it out to me and the green stripe was gone. The dealer explained that since I wasn't willing to pay for the pinstriping, they had taken the car into the garage overnight. They had the paint sanded down to remove the pinstriping and repainted the car. Therefore, I wasn't being forced to pay for something that clearly I didn't want. I thought to myself that the cost of doing this, paying a mechanic to sand down and repaint a car overnight, probably being paid overtime, would have far exceeded the paltry $150. But if I wasn't willing to pay for the pinstriping, then by God, the dealer made sure that I wasn't going to get the pinstriping. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories in today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me,